Welcome to Byrontology. This is the world of Byron. Not that Byron, and probably not that Byron. This Byron. I'm Byron Lane. I'm an author, a playwright. I have one testicle. In Byrontology, we talk about all that stuff. We take a little flashlight to life's wild moments, the absurd and the everyday, and we try to find some meaning and some laughter and all that stuff. I'm here in Louisiana. Little jingling you hear is my mom's dog, Belle. Hi, baby. You look great. You look great. She just had some teeth removed, poor thing. And she's 12 and she's living. And you're a wonderful example to all of us. I love you. Good girl. Go enjoy the sunshine. It's for you. Today's post is about the gay devil. You guys know about the gay devil? The gay devil was inside me, not in a fun way, for so many years. I mean, I guess the gay devil is still inside me. It's all relative. But this is about relativity. And this is about certainty. And when I was a kid, I thought that when I had a crush on Leonardo DiCaprio or when I had a crush on those Abercrombie and Fitch models, remember those magazines? When I was like, I need that magazine for fashion. That was the gay devil, you know? And I would go to a confession about it. And at a certain point, the priests, I would wear them out and they'd be like, oh, here he comes again. They would roll their eyes when I would talk about it. And although one time I did have a priest, I was too embarrassed to talk about masturbating, to confess it. And this priest, I said, oh, you know, I lied to my parents or I ate my sister's candy, whatever. And I was like, that's all. And the priest goes, what about the sexual stuff? I thought that the Holy Spirit had told this priest all of my dirty secrets. But really, he was probably just a perv. I mean, almost certainly he was a perv. So that was me in a nutshell as a kid. And that kind of belief was entrenched in Catholicism, where as a kid, I had a lot of structure and got a lot of self-esteem. So I was altar boy of the year a couple times. So I was popular. Adults loved me. So I got something in return for having these strong Catholic beliefs, especially against homosexuality. And family members did too. And we once went to visit some relatives out of state, and we went to one of those restaurants where they throw rolls at you, like literally like baseball. I was terrified. I hated all sports, including roll throwing. Nevertheless, after dinner, this relative was like, hey, you want to see something freaky? And he drove us by a gay club. And I remember this man outside. It was a leather daddy, and he was wearing all of his leather gear, and he had on like a yellow stitched leather, like codpiece is the wrong thing. Maybe it was like a jock strap. It was like chaps with this leather kind of briefs with the yellow stitching. And and he had like a jacket flung over his shoulder, you know, and I still remember his face as we drove by laughing, and I thought, oh man, he's losing his battle with the gay devil. And that damn gay devil. That gay devil followed me everywhere. Followed me to Loyola University. When I graduated high school, went to Loyola in New Orleans. And I was still super Catholic, still super anti-gay, still fighting that gay devil there at Loyola. So much so that in the evenings, weekdays, I would go to a little mini mass. They would have like a 30-minute mass. And it was just like me and some other like sad kids and this one really thin nun who looked like she had gray hair and everything, but she was probably 25. I don't know. So that's how Catholic I was. And I was so pensive and so lost. And sometimes I would go and sit, if you ever look at a picture of Loyola, there's this grand entrance of like a U-shaped driveway, and Jesus is out front holding his hands up, the statue of Jesus, and they call him Touchdown Jesus because his arms are up like he just made a touchdown. And I would just sit on those steps and think, wow, I'm in this grand place and I feel so empty and so lost and so unwanted and so broken. And some of that was just because the Catholic Church taught that shit. Then I found out about gay outreach at Loyola, a little club called Goal, Gay Outreach at Loyola. And I was outraged, actually. I didn't find comfort in it at all. I was threatened by it. because I thought, oh, what is this outreach for these homosexuals? The outreach is they're converting straight people to gay. That's their business model. Of course, instead of thinking about the Catholic Church as a grand business model where you have to pay money to have human worth and value. Nevertheless, all right, gay outreach out of Loyola. I was outraged, so I typed up a letter, an angry letter of opposition, and I sent it to the president of the university, Father Bernard Noth, Society of the Jesuits. And that was that. I did my part. I did my part for fighting the freaking gay devil of the universe there on the Loyola campus. And I go back to my dorm room one day, and Father Noth's secretary has called me. And Father Noth wants to meet about my letter. Now, I wasn't afraid of him. I had taken on bigger, you know, I don't know what the word is, enemies, whatever. When I was in high school, I wanted to participate in this club called Close Up, where you go to Washington, D.C., and you pretend like you're a legislator or something like that. And I needed money. And so I was fundraising. And so I went to this office building and kind of went door to door, just like looking for funds. And there was this old accountant in one of these offices. And he, very Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, very Mr. Burns. And he was like, "You're Catholic." "Well, I don't give money to Catholics. The Catholic Church doesn't have the truth." I was like, "Well, what?" He's like, "I'm a Baptist. I only support Baptists. Only Baptists have the truth." And I was so outraged by this that I went home and I researched, and I called my Sunday school teacher, and I called my priest, and I got the catechism of the Catholic Church, and I started like writing scripture numbers and names and getting all the facts right. And I went back to his office and I knocked on that door, and I presented him with my case. I had all my notes, you know, my little notes, and he kind of just looked at me amused. The only thing we really agreed on was that homosexuality, bad. But everything else, you know, transubstantiation, I think the virgin birth we fought about, the whole structure of the Catholic Church and saints and all of it. Anyway, we got into it. But he was impressed enough that he funded my trip in full. And to be honest with you, he actually hired me to work for him for many years as like his secretary assistant kind of guy. I would help him make Excel spreadsheets to track his vast wealth. And he couldn't make an Excel spreadsheet to save his life. So he would pay me like $20 an hour or something. And this was in the 90s. So that was like crazy good money for a person like me in a small town who drove a Ford Taurus station wagon with an egg in the tire so that when I would ride around in it, the car would wobble like that. And the starter was broken. So there was a cable that went from the engine inside, and I had to squeeze cables together to make the car start. Anyway, I appreciated him for that. But wow. The religious hold on that guy. He was a real bigot, and he was, I guess I was too at that time. And it was a real learning experience. And the thing I learned really was that you can kind of march in with confidence, and it masks as truth. And that's what I learned from that meeting, and that's what I took to the meeting with Father Noth. I marched into that guy's office. I wasn't going to be intimidated by his gorgeous office. There was a rumor that when they hired Father Noth, the president of the university before him was this beloved guy. Damn, his name escapes me. I guess I didn't beloved him, but he was kind of Father Carter. I found him to be kind of boring. And Father Noth was effusive and energetic and lively. And he would walk around and mingle with the students. You know, you'd see him and he'd talk about, "I'm going to make this into a quad," which I'd never heard of, and palm trees on every corner. And there was this one walkway between buildings where it was just like a plot of land, grass. And there were sidewalks around the perimeter, but not in the middle. And so you could see the tracks where the students had walked and trampled the ground. And he was like, "We're going to put walkways there where you see people are walking." And, you know, I was a teenager, so I thought that was genius. Of course, pave the, you know, you see where people are going. Why? Anyway, that was him. And so I go to his office. Oh, there was a rumor that when they snagged him, that he was a real catch for the for the college, for the university. And so the rumor was he went into the quarters for the priests. All the priests lived on the property in like this little teeny tiny dorm area. And that he went in one of the rooms and was like, this isn't good enough. And he made them like tear down a wall so that he could have more space, like 2 rooms. Anyway, it just kind of gave off badass vibes. But I didn't care about any of that. I was ready to take him on just like I took on that accountant. And I had my little sheet of paper with my little talking points. And I went in there and he sits me, he's behind his grand desk and I sit on the other side, and he pulls out this manila folder and opens it up, and inside is my letter. The gay outreach at Loyola, it's an abomination. The Bible is very clear about homosexuality, blah, blah, blah. And he tried to tell me about inclusion. The Jesuits were kind of liberal, considered kind of liberal Catholics. So, but anyway, he was no match for all my talking points that I had, and he didn't argue with me. He seemed amused. He just kind of took me in for a second, you know what I mean? And he closed the manila folder, and I went on my day. I went on with my life. And that meant years and years, 4 years of college or whatever. But at year 3, my senior year, things had changed. By that time, things had changed. I had gotten a pretty good education on the world. And the big thing that I learned was I wish, these priests used to spend time telling me and everyone that masturbation was a sin, but really I wish they would have told us about time and about certainty, and that time and certainty are enemies, and that time never loses. Because I experienced that firsthand as I went through my career at Loyola, and ironically, it was the Catholic university that initiated my separation from the Catholic Church. Because I started to think, and I started to realize, wow, people are really being othered. This group, that group. Then you learn about how so many religious traditions are inherited from pagan traditions going back years and years. You learn about how every religious tradition has like the Noah and the Ark story, and it all just kind of starts to fall apart. And then you look at, well, what is this thing they're saying about other people? What did this religious tradition say about slavery and oppression? And what is it saying now about those things, and about homosexuality and our community and connection? And it just started to feel dumb. Once the othering thing fell apart, all of the rules of the institutions that supported othering also fell apart, and certainty fell apart. So indeed, time did erode certainty for me, and it eroded certainty for other people too. So my relative who drove us by that gay bar, he reaches out, and we see him, something like that. And it comes up that he's left the Catholic Church. And the thing that drove him to leave the Catholic Church was the McDonald's McFish, Filet-O-Fish sandwich. Because he was eating them every Friday, because the rule used to be, the Catholic Church said, if you eat meat on Fridays, you go to hell. And he took that seriously. Hell? No. So he would get his little fish every Friday, and if he couldn't afford fish, he would eat frozen fish sticks. And then if he was really going to treat himself, he would get a McDonald's Filet-O-Fish. And then eventually the Catholic Church was like, oh, never mind about that meat on Fridays thing. You can eat meat whenever you want. And he was like, how the fuck can that be? How can it be that one moment you're going to hell for eating fish, and the next moment it's no big deal? And for him, credibility eroded, and the structures collapsed, and then all the related things that happened, the deconstruction followed for him. And that's kind of my path too. It just started to sort of not make any sense. And I got to tell you, time also came for one other person in this story. One other person. Time eroded their certainty and their grandness. I was nominated to be on this committee, that the University Programming Board, which brought speakers to campus. So they had a big budget. We would bring, famous people to come talk to us about whatever. And to be on this prestigious board, you had to be approved by Father Noth. So once again, I was face to face with Father Noth, and my plan was to play it cool. It's been 3 years since I sent that letter about gay people. I'm just going to pretend like maybe we never met. How on earth could he remember me? How could he remember that letter? I sit down with him. Hi, how are you? Pleasantries. And he opens a drawer and he pulls out a manila folder and he opens it up. And inside is my letter about gay outreach at Loyola. And I blurt out really quick, I don't believe that anymore. And he was amused, and there was some conversation. He did try to ask me questions, but I had lost a sense of certainty by then. I didn't have talking points, and I certainly didn't think I could talking point my way out of it with him. So I just was kind of vague. To my memory, our conversation was very brief, and he approved my appointment. And then years later, I found out that Father Noth was now just Bernard. I read that he left the priesthood after some accusations about inappropriate behavior in a far outside of New Orleans, years before he ever came to Loyola. So this man of faith and certainty, and oh my God, he's a genius. He knows all about the walkways, the quads. No, just a guy. And at the end of the day, time kind of does that, and just kind of, in my experience, has just eroded certainty. It has, if time is enemies with certainty, it's friends with humility, who I hate. I hate humility. I feel like I'm like always having to hold hands with humility. I'm sick of it. But updates. The gay devil and I are friends now. Once the othering fell apart, I stopped othering him too. Now he's inside me in a fun way. It turns out he's not such a bad guy, the gay devil. He's kind of fun. That's a good update. And then I'll tell you one other thing about time and certainty and humility and all that stuff, and regret. Time doesn't really erode regret. I still think about that leather daddy in his chaps, in his leather brief thing with the yellow stitching. I think about him a lot, and I feel really bad about that experience. About and my relative who drove us by, he has mentioned it too, and he also, when I eventually came out, he mentioned that with regret. And I think of that leather daddy a lot, and I think about that night, and I hope that he didn't see us drive by laughing, that he didn't hear that laughter, that he had a grand night that night, that he had a good, old, devilish, good time that night. And gosh, this is probably 30 years ago, so I don't even know if you know what I mean. But I hope his life was great, and I hope he knows that that his bravery going out one night has changed me. And I wish that guy the best. And I wish you guys the best too. I'm in Louisiana helping my mom out. She had some health issues, and we're walking through all that. I'm actually in her guest room right now. I ordered a couple lights on Amazon and put up this piece of paper. It's freezing here. I had to run water so the pipes don't freeze, so I'm wearing a coat. But I thought if I button this, it almost looks kind of, I don't know. I think it looks all right. So thanks for listening. More soon.